It is 8 o'clock. Coach PK here, doing our Wolfpack chatter for today, Wednesday, March 27th. Okay. So depending on if anybody shows up or not, I would just wanted to touch on a couple of different things. And then we'll get back into the rhythm of the Wolfpack chatter, or maybe do the Sunday thing. It just really depends. Everybody's busy right now, and we got back last Wednesday. So anyway, here we go. Wolfpack chatter, place where you can join us and ask questions and whatnot. So two things. I posted in the live video about what do you want to see different in April. So a number of you guys posted that, and this is kind of like a follow-on. We talk a lot about the journal and whatnot. The mental discipline to do the things that you need to do to build into it is a very good skill, and it's probably one of the hardest, the mental things. So I know what they are, and I've put them in my journal, but I lose sight of them a lot. And so I'm a huge fan of Post-it notes. And so I write Post-it notes of what I need to focus on something that I'm going to be looking at all the time. And I generally spend a lot of time sitting in front of my Mac, so I write them there. I have been known to put them in the kitchen, on the microwave, in my car, on the rearview mirror. So depending on how much you need to talk to yourself, how many reminders you have, where you put your Post-it notes, in the bathroom, on the refrigerator, wherever. So that is one way to talk to yourself and remind yourself daily. Like if you need to just like get real about your eating, put a sticky on the refrigerator and say, hey, love, you're awesome. Don't eat the donut. Maybe even throw out some of the sugar stuff. Don't have it in the house. And then find graceful alternatives for when you do need a sweet thing. So yesterday, I've been doing very low carb, about 20% carb. And yesterday, I ran. I was needing some sugar. And so instead of going for the chocolate stuff, I did a strawberry yogurt. A little bit sugary, more sugary than what I would usually do, but it hit the spot, and it was, in the spectrum of things, it was pretty good. So in April, as you're working through April, working on your goals, figure out the one main theme that you need to work on to help yourself be successful. There is always generally one or two things that we need. My sticky says, be the you want to be. Some of us are really hard on ourselves and need to give ourselves grace, but just that whole thought process leaves a kind of a negative taste in our mouth, because that means that we're not doing it. So we're doing something wrong. And then rah, 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 rah. So one thing that I am doing today, because my other sticky says something else to do. And so this kind of fell in my lap, and I did organize my planner to do a year, 18 months of kind of a gratitude practice, where some of the prime real estate in my journal is 3 things daily to write down that you're grateful for. The act of gratitude is magic sauce. It's magic to focus on what you're grateful for. Don't focus on what you don't have or what you didn't do right, but focus on what's working good. And usually most of the time, 75-80% of things are good, and only the 5 or 10% is rough. But we have a pretty good habit of focusing on the small thing, and then that gradually gets bigger and bigger, and then that 75-80% of good got a little more negative. So a gratitude practice. I have been writing a sticky daily of something specific that I'm grateful for and delivering that. That would be a wonderful practice to do with a little person. If a little person was going through some things of, specifically daily figuring out how you communicate to them that you're grateful for them. The gratitude practice helps you to have grace. Gratitude, grace, grace, gratitude. So if you're a person that's hard on yourself, this gratitude practice will help you to have grace for yourself. So if you needed to say, hey, I'm grateful for BK today because you know what? She's matching today. No. You get the idea. Okay. So anyway, here's my dog, Cujo, aka Julie, the rogue boxer. FYI, the dogs are doing good. Interestingly enough, the pit bull is holding his own and might be getting better. Though cognitively, I started giving him CBD pills. He's a big doofus now, even worse. Oh my gosh. You look at him and tell him to do something and he just sits there and stares at you. Or he does this number. Oh my gosh, dogs. Anyway, so number one, how to work on the hard stuff in a graceful manner. I love stickies. Just write stuff on there. Be the you want to be. Okay. And then what, hey John. And then when I am done with that sticky, I don't actually throw the sticky away. I keep the sticky. So my journal turns into a scrapbook. So here is last week's sticky that I focused on. It says, be strong and love hard. So I have 2 teenagers in the house that I'm trying not to euthanize. For reals. Come on, people who have raised teenagers. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, namaste. The other thing that I want to talk about today, hey John, how are you?
What's up? How you doing, BK?
I'm pretty good.
Good.
Spectacular. I have a new coffee cup. There's a good story about this coffee cup. You need to ask your coach about it.
All
right. Okay, so the second thing I wanted to talk about today, the first was talking about how to work on the mental discipline to help you achieve what you want to do in April. It's always 1 or 2 lessons that you're working on at a time. The second thing I want to talk about logistically, it's getting warmer. You're going to go outside. I want to talk about bike stuff and swim stuff and open water stuff. And this week I'm working on a open water swim video, just a compilation of things that I'm very adamant about, things that I think will help you to be successful in swimming. And like John, who's local to me, folks, I've been trying to tell you that some of these, like the Fast 50 drills, that was prep for open water stuff too, because it helps you learn how to keep your heart rate down or control it or not freak out when it is down up. Okay. So anyway, that's coming up. But so you're getting outside. Be aware that motorists are going to forget that you guys go outside, so find safe places to be. Have a buddy system if you can ride with somebody else or let someone know you're going out. Be safe and be aware of where you can bike safely. I have a couple of places where I live that I bike safely, and now I have to drive probably a good 45, 50 minutes to get there. But that's what I will be doing because I like to enjoy my biking more than worry about if I'm going to get ran over or not. So that's kind of one thing. If you can find bike groups to ride with, while I'm not a huge proponent on riding in bike groups because bike groups can be equally dangerous as cars, because lots of people don't follow all the bike rules and they don't, you're a triathlete. You're not supposed to be, if you're riding an arrow, you don't ride an arrow in a bike group. That's a huge no-no. Lots of people do it. People draft, people do this, people do that. People don't pay attention, and you get newbies, and you could take yourself out of your season or a whole whatever by one person making a mistake, and it's easy to make mistakes. So be cautious when biking in groups. If people don't know, look like they don't know what they're doing, don't bike around them. For those of you guys that are half Ironman training coming up, Ironman stuff, you got to be smart, and you got to be protective of yourself. Be aware of the cars, the cats, the dogs, the other people, the rocks, trash. Just, it's terrible. Anyway, got to be smart. Open water swimming. I have a rule that I never, ever, 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 ever swim by myself. Ever. I generally don't really encourage swimming when you don't have kayak support, unless you know exactly what's going on. You have one of those wave buoy thingies. So I loosen up the rule a little bit. Locally to us, we have a nice swim puddle that has a buoy, and it's relatively okay safe, though I still don't like it when athletes swim out there by themselves when they get far from it has like this buoy line in there. Anyway, don't swim by yourself. It's not important enough to risk your life. Lots of things happen. Swim in a group. And usually that needs to be where somebody is kayak supporting. If you get into a pickle and someone can't get to you in a couple of minutes or a minute or something, what's the point of them being able to see you drowned on the shore? Okay? Please be smart and be supported when you go open water swimming. Please. Anyway, enough on that. Electrolyte and fueling wise, one of the biggest things, I was just talking to somebody today, if you can keep your electrolytes right and fueling halfway right, it's more electrolytes on the bike. Cognitively is where I'm going with this, and this is one of the reasons why I'm so adamant about the sodium and the electrolytes. There are specific races, even an Ironman Boulder race, that I suspect that the biker died because the biker wasn't doing her electrolytes right. Why else would you swerve out into traffic? Unless you just weren't paying attention or whatever. Who knows? However, each one of us that has done any sort of outside biking probably has experience with having gotten your electrolytes wrong and swerving more than what you should. I've done it. Okay? And so as the day gets longer and longer and it gets hotter and hotter, your cognition goes down and you make not the best choices. You're not just aware all the time. I've seen bikers, and sometimes they're just heads down and they're just suffering. If you're doing that, that means you're not really paying attention. You're not looking in your rearview mirrors, and you need to always be paying attention. So that's one of the reasons why I'm so adamant on doing the sodium right during biking, so you just are fully aware in your brain all the time. Okay, enough on that. I just want to keep you safe. This is from experience of seeing bikers, and how many ever years of triathlon I've been doing. Susan and I were talking, and I would love for everybody to get into the mindset of managing your nutrition and your electrolytes by hour when you start getting into the long days. So how many calories, how much sodium per hour you are getting in. We have the tools to kind of, if it's hotter day, do more. So if you're doing infinite and then have base salts on hand, you can become a super smart individual and understand how to manage hydration, aka electrolytes, and then how to manage calories, fueling per hour. A couple of benefits is if things go sideways, if it's hotter, if you're out there longer, if you lose your nutrition, et cetera, et cetera. And I have done races where I've completely abandoned my fueling plan, meaning my calories, But my electrolytes, I still kept that plan, aka the base salts. Kate and I were doing Muncie last year, and it was a hot SOB run. A couple of other you guys have done that run. It's hot. And so I didn't do my infinite. I couldn't down it anymore. So I fueled that race off of base salts that I had on hand and soda off the course. And I've done that before. It works for me fine. So, had I not understood and trained electrolyte and fueling per hour, trained and, just it's very innate with me. It's second nature anymore. Had I not had that base salts on hand, I'd have been in a bad place, and I would have had to stop, because for me, if my electrolytes get right and my heart does stupid stuff, I go into AFib, and then it's all downhill from there. And this is one of the big factors on why I did so well at Ironman Texas, because my nutrition and electrolytes were on point, even though it was the first hot day that I had experienced in, 6 months. It all of a sudden decided to be hot, and everybody was puking on park benches. But I had practiced this idea per hour, and I'm not trying to rag on it just for like one individual or a couple of you that have done things differently. I'm just being super duper adamant about, this is one of the skills that will benefit you for a half Ironman season, an Ironman season. Learn it now, and it will follow you, and it will help you provide you a good triathlon season year after year after year, when you have the nutrition, the electrolyte piece under control all the time. Okay. I think that's the only two things that I really wanted to say. Post-it notes, and pay attention to your nutrition. So when all of you are commenting on your green boxes, put in your fueling and your hydration and stuff like that once the workouts get to be hour and a half, 2 hours. I love to see that and read that information. John.
Yes.
What do you have to say for yourself today?
Not much. I'm just finished on the bike here just a little bit ago, and knocked my swim out earlier, knocked the single leg drills out tonight, which are always a joy, but necessary.
Yes.
So, doing good. Our main thing, I think, between you and I is just trying to dial nutrition in, and we're working the new mag. It seems to, like you said, I think maybe brand specific could have something to do with our situation. So that stuff seems to work good for whatever reason. So
yeah,
I'm doing about 700 milligrams of it a day right now. So we'll see how that goes. I had just a little slight cramp in the calf at about 1,200 yards in the pool tonight, but it went away pretty quick. Nothing serious.
Yeah, I imagine you're still behind, and I'd be super duper interested on how the hamstring behaves. Calf and hamstring, they're not that far apart.
Right. And I think we'll get a pretty good read this weekend. It's a pretty heavy training weekend, so we'll have almost a full week on the new mag, and so we'll have a little time here to see, kind of load it up a little bit, and then we'll see what we get this weekend. I think I got it's either 2.5 or 3 hours on the bike, and then a 2-hour run on Sunday. So, and I think I got 2,400 on Saturday as well. So it's a heavy weekend. So we'll get a good read on it, I think.
Yeah, I don't know what your schedule looks like. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Sunday and Monday look really good for outside, and I know that we have Wichita State scheduled for Monday, which is kind of like a downer. It'd be a good day to run outside. I think Monday was like 20-mile-an-hour winds, and Sunday was maybe 7.
Yeah, 5 to 10.
So I don't know if we can round up some people, maybe. I don't know. Everybody's schedule. We could throw it out there just to idea and see if it stuck. doing some riding outside. I don't even know what my schedule is like. So I'm just throwing this idea out to
Well,
get
if we
some
could,
outside time. But
yeah, if we could put something together, maybe Sunday on the bike, maybe out at the Northwest Y or something like that.
yeah,
It'd be nice because, yeah, if you know that stretch out on 21st gets pretty windy. There's not a whole lot out there to block it. So,
it
you know,
does get windy, but it's one of the safer rides that you can get to.
sure, no, I'm good with that. And you know, we talked last year about just the fact of, you know, what happens when you're around cars. You know, so
Yeah.
and yeah, that I'm totally fine with that. If we got to go out there to be a little safer, that's fine. And you know, just to touch on what you were talking about earlier, riding in a group. I mean, I'm not so worried about it riding with you guys. You know,
Oh
I'd
no.
be okay with that. But you know, most of the time I'm out by myself when I'm outside. So,
Right.
you know, that's I'm trying to be wherever I can be as safe as I can be. So, you
Yeah.
know, whatever. I mean, we can see what we can put together there. I'm kosher with that.
Yeah. We'll throw it out there and see what sticks. I've seen a lot of things go on in bike groups, and I'm not talking, certainly not with myself. I don't screw around on the bike.
No,
But I mean, even myself, like last year, I wasn't quite paying attention enough out there at Northwest Y and hit a rock
yeah,
and bit it going, I don't know. I just instantly sliding on the pavement, just completely bit it
well,
and was half on the road, half not off the road. My bike took a huge hit. I grinded grinded a big old hole into my aero
yeah,
bar. And I thought that I had taken my knee out of the picture. So, and it was a rock and it was some stuff that people had thrown out. So this is what I'm saying. You guys it's just funny. It's haha, not very funny how
well,
silly things happen on the bike. And so,
well,
you
that's where, you know, that's where the hamstring thing started for me last year. Was a little stupid slide out from underneath my feet on gravel on the side of the road.
yeah,
I had a dead stop and ended up pulling a freaking hamstring because
right.
I can't get my foot out of the clip. You know, and yeah, it's just, and it just happens in a heartbeat. You
Yeah,
know, so
you have to really look at that biking as bubble wrap, and I encourage anybody else in the Wolfpack. Um, this is the direction that I'm going. If you know how to ride outside and you don't have a problem with the wind and you don't need security and stuff and practice outside, don't be stressed about not going outside and doing the majority of your trainer rides on the trainer. I trained for Ironman Texas last spring
yeah.
completely inside. I'm talking 220-mile bike rides in my living room on the trainer. I knew how to ride outside and I didn't I mean, it translated fine to outside. I'm not saying this for everybody, but I'm just saying don't be so attached to going outside once you're seasoned if you feel like it's safer to be inside.
Absolutely.
That's now don't be horsing around and Netflixing and not paying attention, but because I'm pretty notorious for that. However, I think the bike world is becoming, unless you have a super safe and all that, just be super duper cautious about biking outside because it's not the it's not the safest activity in the whole wide world, and the consequences are pretty big. You can pull a hamstring doing jacking around at 0 mile an hour,
Yep.
or right? Oh my
Absolutely.
gosh!
You
Or
know,
break a collarbone because you fell over, not completely stopped, and saving yourself. And that's another thing on the bike. If you're going to take a hit, keep your hands and feet in the vehicle at all times. So if you're falling, just tuck and roll and just take it on your shoulders and keep your knees inside. Don't try to save yourself. Stay on the bike. Don't reach out. Just take it on a shoulder. You're not going to hurt your shoulder unless it's out like this. Just take it. Don't let your knee out because that's how you hurt your knees when they're out there. There's a number of times that I have fallen and I'm like, oh shit, I'm going down. Keep my hands and feet in the vehicle. So,
Go.
Okay.
Okay.
You're fine. So we're going to do some specific stuff. Just let me know if you guys have any questions on the nutrition piece of it, by hour planning, just monitoring, keeping track. And then, be smart, be safe, be conservative on the bike stuff outside. Because, I mean, shit, last year the team went through someone getting hit by a drunk driver, and that was horrible. And, the stuff is going to happen, and stuff happens, but in every place that you can, build yourself padding. And so if that's electrolytes, keeping your brain on point, staying aware, don't be wearing earbuds biking. Be careful in groups, careful of farmers, be careful, be careful, be careful. Okay.
All right.
Have a good night, guys.
Night, BK.
Night. Namaste.